smallest rational hope of enriching themselves, or any conceivable reason, set up as coal merchants, and have, month after month, continued gloomily to watch a small stock of coals without in any one instance negotiating with a purchaser. The remarkable similarity between this course of proceeding and that adopted by their great ancestor beneath the vaults of the Parliament House at Westminster is too obvious and too full of interest to stand in need of comment. It is also clearly proved by the oral traditions of the family that there existed, at some one period of its history which is not distinctly stated, a matron of such destructive principles and so familiarized to the use and composition of inflammatory and combustible engines that she was called the matchmaker, by which nickname and byword she is recognized in the family legends to this day. Surely there can be no reasonable doubt that this was the Spanish lady, the mother of Chuzzlewit folks. But there is one other piece of evidence bearing immediate reference to their close connection with this memorable event in English history, which must carry conviction, even to a mind, if such a mind there be, remaining unconvinced by these presumptive proofs. There was, within a few years, in the possession of a highly respectable and in every way credible and unimpeachable member of the Chuzzlewit family, for his bitterest enemy never dared to hint at his being otherwise than a wealthy man, a dark lantern of undoubted antiquity, rendered still more interesting by being, in shape and pattern, extremely like such as are in use at the present day. Now this gentleman, since deceased, was at all times ready to make oath, and did again and again set forth upon his solemn asseveration that he had frequently heard his grandmother say, when contemplating this venerable relic, "Aye, aye, this was carried by my fourth son on the 5th of November when he was a Guy Fawkes." These remarkable words wrought, as well they might, a strong impression on his mind, and he was in the habit of repeating them very often. The just interpretation which they bear and the conclusion to which they lead are triumphant and irresistible. The old lady, naturally strong-minded, was nevertheless frail and fading. She was notoriously subject to that confusion of ideas, or, to say the least, of speech, to which age and garrulity are liable. The very slight confusion apparent in these expressions is manifest, and is ludicrously easy of correction. "Aye, aye," quoth she, and it will be observed that no emendation whatever is necessary to be made in these two initiative remarks. "Aye, aye. This lantern was carried by my forefather, not fourth son, which is preposterous, on the 5th of November, and he was Guy Fawkes." Here we have a remark at once consistent, clear, natural, and in strict accordance with the character of the speaker. Indeed, the anecdote is so plainly susceptible of this meaning and no other that it would be hardly worth recording in its original state, were it not a proof of what may be, and very often is, affected not only in historical prose but in imaginative poetry by the exercise of a little ingenious labour on the part of a commentator. It has been said that there is no instance in modern times of a Chuzzlewit having been found on terms of intimacy with the great. But here again the sneering detractors who weave such miserable figments from their malicious brains are stricken dumb by evidence. For letters are yet in possession of various branches of the family, from which it distinctly appears, being stated in so many words, that one Diggory Chuzzlewit was in the habit of perpetually dining with Duke Humphrey. So constantly was he a guest at that nobleman's table indeed, and so unceasingly were his Grace's hospitality and companionship forced, as it were, upon him, that we find him uneasy and full of constraint and reluctance, writing his friends to the effect that if they fail to do so-and-so by bearer, he will have no choice but to dine again with Duke Humphrey, and expressing himself in a very marked and extraordinary manner as one surfeited of high life and gracious company. It has been rumoured, and it is needless to say the rumour originated in the same base quarters, that a certain male Chuzzlewit, whose birth must be admitted to be involved in some obscurity, was of very mean and low descent. How stands the